Hey everybody, it's Cam here with my episode 5 review of Netflix's live adaptation of One Piece. This was a little bit of a different episode for me. I really enjoyed it, but I kind of struggle to see what the main theme was versus the previous episodes, which I felt like there was a real point that was being made in every episode. I would say that it's probably that you should chase your dreams. We meet Sanji here, who will clearly be another crew member. He is not fitting in at Baratier, which, by the way, is just amazing and awesome. Everything about it I thought was really cool. But he's obviously feels constrained while he's with them when he's trying to make that cool bluefin tuna, or whatever the tuna is called in this case. When he's trying to make the tuna meal, and they tell him that, we cook steaks here, and that's what people want. So obviously he'll join Luffy's crew here shortly and become their 5th member. But for this episode, I think the big thing that for most of it is it kind of felt to me like it served to just let us get to know people a little bit better, and for maybe for the crew themselves to get to know each other a little bit better. There's that drinking scene between Zoro and Nami where, they take shots if they don't guess something about each other correctly. But all in all, I really liked the episode. We start off, obviously, with the conclusion to that grandpa comment, where we find out that he is that Vice Admiral Garp, where we find out that Vice Admiral Garp clearly is Luffy's grandpa. There's that flashback scene. I was a little bit nervous at the beginning of that flashback scene when Luffy is, making his pirate ship and saying he's going to be a pirate, and Garp picks him up and, kicks apart his pirate ship and says it's time to begin his marine training. And you think at first Garp's going to be kind of a jerk, and then he tells him, but first lunch. And, it's kind of lighthearted at the end of that. I don't know why, but I really, really like Garp. I think that he might actually be my favorite character. And so I keep on being nervous that there's going to be some twist and Garp is suddenly going to start being a jerk, and I'm going to hate him, and then I'm going to hate that my favorite character, ended up being a jerk. So that was kind of a fun scene at the beginning. I really like, as far as breaking down characters, Garp, that we see him later on with Kobe, and Kobe is upset because he learns that Garp has sent Mihawk, who we find out is one of the warlords of the sea. So he's upset that he feels like there's unfair rules, right? That Garp is sending Mihawk to go get Luffy and tells him not to kill him. And Kobe feels like, there's clearly different rules for different people, just like there are in our world. And he says that, that's unfair. And Garp, I really liked how Garp handled it too, saying that, yeah, it is unfair and it sucks, but that's just how things are. And you're going to have to figure out how to deal with your place in the world and decide if you really want to be a Marine. And I liked how at the end of it, when, Kobe said, okay, I can deal with that. Because of his explanation that he said, that uniform's starting to fit you. So I kind of felt like that was a nice scene in the show. Which the more I think about it, is I felt like that's kind of what this whole episode was just a series of scenes that I really liked. I didn't necessarily feel, for me, like they tied in quite the way that some of the other episodes have. And maybe that's what I've been kind of trying to decide while I was watching it. I was like, there's something that seems just a tiny bit off for me, but I really liked all of those scenes, so I still enjoyed the episode. As far as each of our characters goes, let's talk about Nami real quick first. Obviously, she's still doing Nami things where she's being mysterious. She, looks like she's going to leave the crew before she doesn't. And then Usopp, he spends most of this episode just getting drunk. We don't learn too much new about him this time. Luffy's big thing, I thought it was really funny, when he tries to write his name on credit to pay for the meal at Baratier and ends up having to wash dishes. He kind of serves almost like as a background character to show that since he's the leader, other people, he encourages Sanji to follow his dreams. He encourages Zoro to follow his dreams, even though, there's a good chance Zoro's going to die because of challenging Mihawk to a duel. Let's talk about Mihawk himself. Once again, I've never so far read any of the manga or any of that stuff, and obviously I plan on doing it here shortly, but I do want to finish up this season before I start. he clearly has way more power than everyone else. We see him in that beginning scene where he's fighting an entire pirate fleet and defeats them. His sword is massive. He seems to be able to use some sort of like sonic attack with it, where he actually cuts a ship in half out in the bay from, it has to be hundreds of yards away with his sword. So I imagine that we'll see more of him as it goes on. Then obviously the big like penultimate scene, which I really liked actually, was the duel between Zoro and Mihawk. I absolutely laughed out loud when he pulls out that tiny little sword and ends up fighting Zoro with it. It makes it really obvious from the first second that he outclasses Zoro. And, I have to say, like, I really hope that Zoro and the rest of the crew end up becoming more powerful as they go on, because it does seem like that there are like a hero class, and that like Zoro and Nami and I guess Sanji, we haven't seen him obviously do anything yet, but that like they're like on a second tier lower than like where the actual captains are. And I kind of think that I would like for them to be a little more powerful too. I don't know, maybe that would make everything kind of ridiculous, but in the end where Mihawk doesn't actually kill Zoro because, he sees how brave he is and the determination that he has. And, he just wounds him and tells him later that he's going to have to see him one day in the future as well. I felt like that was a nice scene that added a little bit of gravity to an episode and a show in general that at times can be, silly, if anything. It was a nice way to finish up, the scene. As far as Sanji goes, he clearly looks like at least he thinks he's a ladies' man. He's obviously an amazing chef. He actually kicked someone's butt pretty quick early on, so maybe he's going to be able to do some fighting as well. It's obviously hard to tell what you're going to think about him, although I'm 100% certain he's going to join the crew at this point because he's clearly not happy at Baratier. There's some sort of backstory there. We'll see what we find out for that. I already mentioned Kobe. I did like that he had a decent conversation with Bad Haircut Guy, who I refuse to learn his name until I see it again in an episode. But that was kind of one of those where, it served to tell more about Mihawk, and where we get to learn, more about the world government and those 7 warlords of the sea, and how now they basically didn't want a real war, so they're kind of co-op, and as long as they'll do the bad missions for the world government. Luffy in this episode, he's more of a background character. I felt like he's his usual self. He does serve as kind of like a cheerleader in the episode. All in all, though, like I said, I kind of felt like this was just a disjointed episode where we start off with that whole battle scene where we find out. Also, it was kind of cool when Luffy uses his stretchiness to shoot that cannonball back and take out the mainmast of the marine ship. Garp also, when he throws that cannonball, throws it with like a cannon shot force, so he shows that he's a little bit more powerful as well. But all in all, like there was that specific scene. Then we get to Baratier. The crew gets to have a little bit of unwind, have fun time. They also talk about how it's kind of messed up that Luffy didn't tell them that Vice Admiral Garp was his grandfather, which seems like the most Luffy thing ever, honestly. I really thought it was a funny scene too when Nami tells Zoro that he needs to go talk to Luffy about this, and he walks back and he's like, hey, what's up kind of situation, and he's like, you want to talk about the battle? Luffy tells him no, and he's like, cool, good talk, see you out there. That's kind of like, just a total typical dude talk. And, I would have expected nothing less out of Zoro. I feel like this is a really, really short episode. But at the same time, like I said, I don't really know what else to talk about with the episode. That, we see each of the characters. We see a whole bunch of individual scenes. The fight scene was awesome at the end. The initial battle and their talk after while they're in the fog, I thought that was funny. And then it was a good, fun time that they had at Baratier, and I thought it was like a really cool thing being out there in the middle of nowhere, You have music, you have like a diverse group of people that are eating there. I just thought it was fun. One thing I do actually want to mention while I'm thinking of my wrap up here is it was funny seeing Sanji where he's talking about the special place where you can get all the spices and see all the different fish that you could serve up. I thought that it was really funny seeing that. That was very similar to Luffy and all those pirates wanting to get their One Piece. It was like that, the chef's version of the One Piece. All in all, I'm excited to see where we go from here. I liked the episode, and we'll see where we go from here. And I'm excited for episode 6. You would think that, considering that these are by far my best viewed episodes, I would be a lot better about getting one out every week. But I've just been really busy here and there. And what's funny is I've actually had my kids home a lot in the last couple weeks, and they're 5 and 8, and it's really hard to sneak off for an hour and watch a show and have them off doing their own thing and not be interrupted or find a chance to do then record afterwards. My wife's been working from home while the kids are here, so I've got to try to keep them entertained, and then in the evening we want to watch shows together. So it's been one of those things. So I'll try to get another episode out here pretty quickly, and we'll carry on. Thank you for everyone who has watched and subscribed so far, and we'll get the last couple episodes out, and then I think I'm going to try to find another show to do a review on. Hope you all had a wonderful holiday season, and looking forward to the new year. Thank you.